This took a long time to get where I'm at here, and this is kind of simple. So I kind of gave up what I was going to do. I tried the crackle stuff, the crackle paint. We'll get into that later. I'll show you here later in this one. This is how I built the throne for the he-bat. I don't know. Batman, he-bat, whatever you want to call it. Somewhat graveyard. The ambassador of pain. Batman. But it was a journey for this one. I almost trashed it a few times. But I'll pop in and out, give you guys a rundown what happened or what's going on. And I appreciate you for watching. Here's the first piece I came up with. Not happy at all. I don't know what the hell I was doing here. I was doing something, so I trashed that. So I started over again. Cut a piece out. Started again. Here's all the foam board I used for the throne. I got the bat from Walmart at Halloween. I got the skulls from Target in a bag. Here I'm mocking up He-Man. Just uses a mock-up piece to see how I'm going to set him on the throne. But for some reason this He-Man seemed to fit much better than the He-Man I used. I should have just got another one of these He-Man, but I had a couple Revelation He-Mans in the box, so I decided to go with the Revelation He-Man. But at the end it didn't turn out bad. Here's the skulls. I didn't like how the skulls looked when it came to the mouth, so I cut the mouth out with the Dremel just so it looked more realistic and gave it a dark wash. That was about it. And went in here just with a pick, or I mean a razor blade knife, X-Acto knife, whatever you want to call it, and just try to smooth it up a little bit, get all the pieces I couldn't get because I didn't want to get too close to the teeth to, you know, mess them up. So here's the pick. Went in there and played dentist here for a little while and try to get it smooth as possible. Here's where they had holes on top of the head, and I just went in some air dry clay and then filled the holes in, let it dry, did some sanding, sanded it down a little bit, and then just dark washed it. That was about it with the skulls. Here's where I used a multi-purpose drywall compound, just used for sheetrocking. After I got the throne where the shape I wanted it to be behind the bucket there, I just painted it black. Then I went in and just started covering it with it, smoothed it out, caked it on a little bit, let it dry. The reason why I went with the multi-purpose stuff here, the drywall compound, I just wanted it to look more like an old school concrete sort of throne. After I was done, well, before it dried, I took a sponge here obviously and just textured it up a little bit and just made it look like it was old school concrete from way back in the day. Now the next thing here, I was debating to buy pillars offline. I could have got 4 of them for like $5 or $5 or $6, but if I had a 3D printer, but I was like, you know, man, I kind of still feel more, it's a little more rewarding, not to knock anybody that has a 3D printer or buy stuff offline to make their diorama look good. I just, after this piece right here, I was so frustrated where I was at. I just wanted to just get it done. But at the same time, I wanted to at least care about it. So I used a empty bottle of apple barrel to the desired height I wanted for each one. Wrapped it around with some corrugated cardboard and some pink foam pieces. Right here, I cut down with a hot iron, wire iron, whatever you want to call it, hot wire, and just glued around the actual empty bottle, put it together, and painted it. I'm kind of glad I went with doing everything from kind of scratch, just because it was more rewarding at the end, since this was such a frustrating piece for me to have it all done from basically scrap in an empty bottle. But I think if I did have a 3D printer, which I'm not so sure I want a 3D printer yet, maybe later down the road. And at the same time, I'm not against buying things off the internet that fit the 1/12 scale to make the diorama look good, like pillars, garage doors, or windows. I think I'll be getting into that soon as well. But I really didn't want to wait for it to come through the mail. And I felt, you know what, I'm just going to do this whole damn thing with trash. Basically trash. Empty bottle, foam that I got from work that they were going to throw away, and just make what I had work. Here's where the aggravation started right here. I was trying to go purple underneath just to change it up. And I got me some Crackle spray paint. This is what this stuff is here. You know the spray paint you see and the people spray it and it cracks up and then it looks like a natural crack. If it actually would have worked, it would have been really cool. Very disappointed it didn't work out. And before I tried this, they said put it on heavy, put it on heavy. I tried heavy. I used half a bottle on this piece right here. It'll show you in a minute. It didn't crack too good. But I decided to change the thing all up. There's the old piece right there that I threw away. So I cut this piece out of the piece of wood I got from Walmart to make this stand higher on the actual piece, the actual platform. Here I'm going to cut it with the hot wire, whatever you call it. You know what I mean. Foam cutting wire, foam cutter. Anyway, this is where it all began, the frustration going downhill. And as you can see here, getting ready to come up, here's where the crackle is. Now, a little bit of it did crack, but I wasn't happy with it. It didn't crack enough. I was hoping it'd crack more like it did on the top right hand side there and a bottom left hand side. It just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. I wasn't happy with it. And I wasn't just going to go with it. I know it sounds dumb. I know it's basically what it is, but when you're working on something, it has to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, I can't do it or move forward. So here's where I'm mocking it up just to get an idea of what it's going to look like, and I just wasn't happy. The corners did well. I just didn't like it, so I scrapped it. So here's where I came in, and I just painted it white. I painted it straight out apple barrel white. I went to Walmart, got me a big ass bottle of white, and I just gave it 2 or 3 coats. And then I decided I'm going to make my own cracks. So I drew some cracks onto the piece of foam. Then I went in with the X-Acto knife and made my cracks. That's basically where I'm at, where it went. So overall, not bad, but not where I wanted to be. But it was enough to satisfy me to move on. I know it sounds stupid, but that's just the way it is. And I don't know, that's the way it is. At this point, I got to myself and I said, well, I'm making everything black and white. Just black and white. If Batman was after everybody was gone and it was Mad Max style, instead of the Batcave being black and gray, I decided Batman having a white Batcave. Just black and white. The only thing I wanted in color was Skeletor's head, He-Man's head, the S on Superman's grave, and Batman. So straight white here. I'm adding white I did a few coats of white. I was happy with it. Then I went in with some pewter gray. Put a little bit of that around here. You'll see here in a minute. A little bit all over the place. Just to change it up a little bit. And then I just took a Sharpie, fine point Sharpie, and made my own cracks. So for some reason I decided to make little rocks, old school style, maybe back in the Wild Wild West when you bury somebody. You know, the rocks on top of the grave. I kind of wanted that effect. So I painted every rock white. Then I went in, after I painted it white, I gave it hints of some dark under the rock. And again, I stuck to the method of using pastel. It just seemed to shade better for me when something's completely straight white. But this is a little time consuming painting all these rocks. I used probably 80% of the rocks here on top of Superman's grave. So better have a little more than enough than not enough. I know I already mentioned it, but here's a spot right here where I used that pastel black on the rock. Like I said, I wasn't trying to really do crazy shading, and I know the rock's white just to match my black and white Batcave, but it just seemed to look, if I would have used straight paint, I think it would have took longer. And here, this is user friendly. I really like using pastels. If you're customizing and you're having trouble with kind of like, you know, shading and stuff, just give it a try. So here's Superman's Tombstone. I was going to buy Tombstone from Party City for $4, but I kind of didn't like the way they looked. It just didn't look right. I didn't for this project. And then again, it just felt right to just make one for some reason. I don't know why. But right here, I know I'll show you later here in a minute, but it's a little too big after I applied the S but we'll get to that here in a second. But I don't know. I guess how can you mess up a tombstone? Okay, here I am getting ready to put the cracks in. I drew them with pencil first, just so if I messed that up I could start over. I don't want to just go ahead and just do it, because the way this was going, it wasn't going well. I don't want a whole lot of cracks at this point. I want kind of a natural look, even though this is not natural at all. But there's my cracks. Okay, back to the pedestals. After a few coats of white, went in here with a pewter gray, and I just added some blotches all over the place, just to give it some little contrast of something, or whatever you want to call it, just to break up the white a little bit. But I put it on, and I think I went back in and did some dry brushing. Here's the end right here of one of them. I put He-Man's shield on top of one, just to change it up a little bit. But here's what I was talking about, that gray. I went in and just blotched it around here and there, all over the podium, just to give it some sort of something, you know, not just straight white, you know, because it just looked cooler, I thought, instead of just white, even though this whole thing is basically white. After that, I went in. I did one off camera in the background, that He-Man shield on the back, just because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And unfortunately, I had like 4 hours of video on this one project from start to finish, and I trashed most of it. Just showed you the parts that actually, what the end result I came up with, just so I wasn't boring you even more with hours of me trying to put something together. But anyway, here I am. After I went in with the gray, I lightly went back over it with white, just to tone down the gray a little bit, and then put the cracks in. Here we go back in time, where before I put the shield on top, just so I can show you what I did. I cut the handles off the shield because it was sitting up too much. So after I cut the handles off the shield, I just went with a dark wash. That's all I did. I didn't do anything else to it, didn't put no damage on it, didn't cut any pieces in it to make it look like it was damaged. I just put a dark wash because I didn't want to take away too much from the head that I was putting on top of there, He-Man's head. So after that, I put a little bit of red, if you want to call it blood, make it at least it somewhat look like blood on top of the shield. Not a whole lot of blood. I don't want to make it real messy. I don't want to make it really too messy, because it just, I don't know. I want to make it look like He-Man's head was sitting there for a while. Anyway, here we go. Fast forward now to the Tombstone. I took that S off of Superman that I had laying in a bin. Just put him in hot water, peeled the S off, put the S on. I was back and forth with the S. Maybe I was going to get a piece of a comic book S and do some hodgepodge on there. But I said, nope, I got the Superman laying in my bin. I'm using the S. And here's where I thought the Tombstone was too big, because I didn't want the Tombstone really big and make the S look small. So I went in, shaved it down with the hot wire, did a little texture on the side with some more of aluminum foil, painted it back up, and glued it down. Okay, here's comes the time where we put the Superman's S on the Tombstone. There's the Superman emblem I got it from. Was that Superman? That heavy metal Superman from that wave, whatever that wave was, from the Batman heavy metal wave. Simple hot glue. Push it in, hold it in, let it dry. And that was about as far as I went with it. Except, again, I know what you're saying. Again, yeah. I used some pastel here, I'll show you in a minute, to use as a, or no, maybe I didn't. I don't even remember now. I think I did. I think I used pastel for some water damage on the S, just to make the S pop a little bit. Yeah, I did. See, I used some pastel like I've been using this whole project. I think I went with a little bit of black paint though as well, just to darken it up a little bit more. And I know what you're probably saying, well, how come there's water not coming down the top of the Tombstone? I don't know. Here's where I'm using paint, by the way. I don't know. This is how it turned out. This is how I wanted it. I don't want anything to distract the S from above the S, just so it would pop when you see it. At least that's what I'm thinking in my head. But I think that's about it. All I did is put a hole in the bottom, put a shish kebab stick in there, cut it down, glued it down, and stuck it to the base. So that's it, man. I can't thank everybody enough for all the support, and watching this. And I appreciate you coming along and watching me with this build. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this one. I like it. Don't get me wrong, I like it. But I don't know. I'm happy enough to present it and put it on the shelf. I don't know. I do kind of like the black and white feel of it. But just to let you guys know before we go, that particular He-Man from Revelations, that figure, it was a pain. I mean, a pain to get him to sit down on that throne. I had to hot glue his loincloth up underneath where he sits to his body. It was really extremely a pain to have him sit. But hey, I know it's a 7-inch figure. It's a $20 figure. But you know what, man? Keep customizing. Keep going. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Until it feels right, that's when you do it. Alright, man. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. This, in my mind, was based after everybody was gone. There was only a select few. And if there were superheroes in the world, I guess Batman would be the one that was last. He took out Superman. He took out Skeletor. He took out He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. With no special powers. Not an alien from another planet. Just a mortal man. Just flesh and bone. Whether it was the will to survive, whether it was out of hate, glory, or even greed, or to make sure there was no threat possible. The ambassador of pain. Batman. Yep. I sound too much like a novel there. Anyway, for real though, thanks for watching, guys. Until the next one.